I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 23 years old, and all I've ever done in my life is be an entrepreneur. I made the mistake a few years ago of selling my company to a large conglomerate and had to work for them, and I didn't know what I was doing until I quit and became an entrepreneur all over again. So all I've done is do startups, and I was excited to come and talk a little bit about what I meant by that to a group that was interested in going online. Having said that, I don't know any difference, so I've never done anything other than do this, and so I'm not sure if I'm the best person to compare, but I'll give my feedback as we go along. Most offline entities today look at the internet as an extension of their current business. So if I'm starting a company and I'm going online, I decide that I'm going to go online and that's what I'm going to do. When you have a current business, most people, not everyone, but most people look at it as an extension of their current business versus starting a new business. And there's a reason for that. We view the internet as another point of sale, most cases. You go to a new city, you go to a new area in your business, you start a new store, you start doing something else online somewhere else, it's a new point of sale. The internet becomes an extension of that. But let's think of this slightly differently for the next 15 or 20 minutes and see how it gets us. Consider that the internet is not a new point of sale, but an entirely new industry. And of course, to take this forward a little bit, let's maybe use a little bit of an example. I've taken a very funny one. Let's say, it's funny for me, doesn't mean that you guys will laugh at it. Let's say that you build or you make garments, and then you sell those garments. And then you decide that you want to build rocket ships. That was the humor, by the way. The rocket ships was the funny part. It's okay. Oh, someone laughed. Who was that? Thank you. So you decide to make rocket ships. And you decide to sell to NASA. NASA is important. You could build stupid rocket ships and sell them to your neighbor because your neighbor probably doesn't know anything about rocket ships. They're not an informed buyer. But if you're going to sell to NASA, well, NASA understands that there's a rocket ship and there's fire that comes out and then it goes up in the air and it has to go in the sky. They know all that stuff. So you can't sell to NASA without actually understanding how to build a rocket ship and then how to sell a rocket ship. So let's pretend like you're going to sell to NASA. If you're going to, and also, before I go on, let's pretend like the people that are online, and we don't have to pretend this is true, the people that are online are informed buyers. They understand what's available, they understand where to go, and most of them understand the difference between what they like and what they don't like. So we'll assume all that just like NASA does. What would you do? Would you use the same governing principles that you did as a garment seller? Would you use the same strategy? Would you deploy the same employees that work really well in your garment industry to go figure out the rocket ship? Would you use the same metrics that you use in the garment industry to be successful selling rocket ships? Probably not. Let's even take it one step further. Would you perhaps do some research on what a rocket ship is? Like, it's got like a pointy top most of the time, and people fit inside. It got some windows. What does even space mean? Like, is space above the clouds, or is it above the atmosphere, or where is this rocket ship going? A little bit of research just to figure out, we're going to build this rocket ship. We're going to know what the hell we're doing over here. The internet is like a rocket ship. It's a different world. And I'll tell you, if we were building a rocket ship, we would all go and do this research. Most people go online and do absolutely no research. And I'll tell you why most of the time that's the case. Because even kids can do this. We read about this all the time. The 24-year-old kid is a billionaire. He was in a bathroom in his mother's house on a computer, and now he's worth $5 billion. If that kid can do it, Ramu can do it. Bring him down, and it'll put a computer in front of him and get this done. This is the mentality. It's fine. It's how we've been reading about it online. We don't read about the 99% of the kids who start this and fail. And we don't think about most of the time, even offline businesses, like mostly in the retail space, are started by people originally who weren't that much older than these guys at that time, but still read and understood that industry prior to entering it. So, they asked the first question. Oh, that's a really good question, audience. By the way, this is interactive. Feel free to stop me at any time, raise your hand, and ask a question. Disagree with me, penalize me for misspellings on my PowerPoint presentation, go ahead. But this, guys, is a great question. Let's take a look. And let's take a look from stuff that we actually read about in the news. Starting an online site. It's quick and easy, it's cheap, and it's not manpower intensive. This is true because we read online that some of the most powerful companies online, both in India and abroad, were started in garages, in rooms, in bedrooms, by two people, a computer, a printer, and sometimes a scanner. We read about this all the time. We read about this for Yahoo, we read about it for Google, in India for Flipkart, for Snapdeal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Two people have an education and some consulting exposure, no industry exposure in the industry they're entering, no online exposure, have literally started this from scratch. What does that mean? It means you don't need expensive technology. You don't need IBM. You don't need half the companies that perhaps are sponsoring this event to start, not to run, but just to start your online venture. You don't need massive infrastructure. If people can do it in their bedroom, I'm sure you could do it anywhere in the world. And you don't need too many people. You basically need someone to talk to so that you can bounce ideas off that person. Because doing it alone by yourself is boring and scary, I guess. Because all you do is talk to yourself. That was my humor and interjected into my presentation. Yeah, okay, some people are laughing, it's good. All right. Great question, audience. This is so interactive. What do you need? Well, what do you need in general? What do you need in general to understand the internet? This is good. How is the internet different? Let's start there. We're a 24-hour sales cycle in the internet. That means that we never shut. Who thinks about that? You know it. I know you can go online at 1 o'clock in the morning and still shop, but do you think about it from a work standpoint? How is that different from your current business? I'm not going to go into each one of these things for you. It's boring, and there are plenty of people who will be talking about all of these things over today and tomorrow. But I'm just going to touch on each one of them. All of a sudden, your brand, which was localized to a large extent, is now national and international in an instant. How does that affect you? How are you projecting your image all of a sudden to people you do not know or cannot see and don't think in the same manner that you think? Collecting data. I'm going to go into collecting data for 1 minute, and I know that people are going through this in a lot of detail. Right after, I'm going to go through it for 1 minute because I think it's very important. I have 9 investments, by the way, online. Capital invested in the companies that I've put money in, and an angel have raised over $95 million in India. I believe that data is how the internet functions. That's our ops base. So I'm going to go for 2 minutes, but right before that, you look bigger than you actually are. When you have a store or an offline presence, you're as big as your store or the multiple stores that you have. You're as big as the number of employees you have. I walk in, I'm like, there's always a bigger store. When you're online, oh my God, you could be in a bathroom, but your online presence looks exactly the same as Walmart, which is what's so great. All of a sudden, you have this presence, no one knows what to do with it. Customers can promote you in an instant. If I go to your store offline and I buy something and I'm really happy that I found this in your store and your salesperson was so helpful to me, I'll leave and maybe I'll remember to tell my kid, oh, by the way, I found it. My kid is like, whatever, Mom, I don't care. And then it goes on. But if I'm online and I like what you did and I'm enthusiastic, I'm all over the place. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on blah, 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 blah. I have 1,000 friends who automatically know that I went on blahblah.com and that was where I found my stuff. That's your store. That's your store. And how do you then plan for that? How do you then plan differently for that than you do normally. All right, now my thing on data, really quickly. We're all about crunching numbers. All of you crunch numbers in your day job. Whatever your retail job is today, you're crunching numbers for it. But you're not crunching numbers like the online space gives you access to. But before you can do that, you got to know what the numbers are. What do you collect? Good luck, by the way. It's tough. This is not easy. It is very, very, very difficult. There's access. The problem is there's too much access. And so you really need to know where to go, what to look for. And once you do, and now this is my little song that I sing to the companies that I invest in, advise, et cetera, you analyze, act, and adapt. Can you do those things effectively enough? What does that mean? Every time someone comes onto your online store, they leave a digital trail. You can track online activity, you can track time spent on site, you can track page views, deal response, so you give a deal to people respond, which products they've purchased, why they've purchased it, why they haven't purchased it. Think about that offline for a minute. Someone comes into your store, they walk up, they choose a product, but they leave empty-handed. You don't know how long they spent, what they were looking for, why they didn't buy. Did they not buy because they were looking for something else and they didn't find that? Did they not buy because your line was too long at the sales counter? Did they not buy because your salesperson was rude to them and they were going to buy, but they were like, whatever, I'll buy it somewhere else? That was I don't know the answer to that question look. This is not the case online. Online, you can find out everything. You can know exactly when they stopped looking. You can know exactly why they didn't do something, X or Y. There's metrics for all this. So much so in companies that some of the companies that I'm on the board of, we know minute by minute not only where the consumer was when they stopped searching on our site, but where they went after that. We know where they bought products from. We know when specific people say what about us. We go into so much granular detail that we know that on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock in the morning, how much activity takes place on our site versus other sites versus our site on other days of the week, other Tuesdays in September, other Tuesdays and second Tuesdays in September versus other companies. And why? And then we extrapolate based on that. And that's the data that your competition is using, the companies that are purely online or companies that understand the internet. Leveraging that data. Everything is to do with growth and revenue. So can you take what you understand and create sales opportunities based on that? Because otherwise you're just a number cruncher, which makes no sense. And most importantly, can you adapt? Offline, adapt, yes, stop, yes. Oh my God, this is so cool. Sorry? How would you know the why of the data? Oh, so you extrapolate. So you extrapolate that. And the more data you have, the better extrapolation you have. So yeah, of course you don't know exactly why, but you're testing to prove your why. And that's what's critical. And that actually is great because it segues into the adaptation. Thank you so much. We practiced this for hours yesterday. The adaptation online takes minutes. Offline, it takes days, weeks, months. You can't change things offline so easily. The problem is everyone knows online you can change things. So everyone does it. Facebook iterates once every 4 minutes. Once every 4 minutes, and you know this, everyone who uses Facebook knows that every couple of days you're like, oh my God, everything has changed. Well, they're testing it. Google does it once every 2.5 or something. That's insane. Can you imagine doing something like that offline? But if you know people do it online, you better be doing it too, otherwise you're behind. And you're doing it based on data. That's what I believe. You need to have the data to be able to make the change, to test it, and to move on. Okay, so let's move on. What else is different? Well, you got less customer contact. In your retail store, You've got amazing customer contact, and that sells. So you're going to buy jeans, you go to the store, the jeans guy's like, oh, try this jeans, sir. And you're like, oh, okay, I will. They go, wait, it doesn't fit. I'll go get another pair of jeans for you. I'll get another pair of jeans for you. You look so good in that. You must buy that. Oh, my God. You look amazing. You know, right? Everyone's experienced that. I have 2 pairs of those jeans. They're brilliant. And you look, wow. And you're like, oh, let me buy them. Give me 3. There's nothing like that online. How do you manage for that? How do you even think about managing for that? You have to figure out the best solution for your customer without being in contact with them. We think of it immediately because we're online players. So I wouldn't know how to hire someone who kisses someone's ass like I just did well enough to sell to that customer. But I definitely know how to project my product so the customer has the best potential view of it without having me say anything to them. There's no touch and feel. How do I make up for that touch and feel? I can feel the jeans. I can put them on. I can try them on. I can try many of them. I can see this color suits me. This color doesn't. I don't have that access online. How do I make up for that? How do I make up for trust issues? I come to your store. I know your store is there. I see your cash counter, I see your product, I see you. Trust is immediately created. You don't need to create trust. You just need to be there. Online, you have to create trust. How do you create credibility? How do you create that trust? There's less impulse buying. You all know that. I don't have to go into that. But when you go into a store, you say, oh, I had to buy this, but oh, I found this, I'll buy it. It's happening more and more online, but it's a long way to go. People are going specifics to do something specifically right now online. You have to manage for that. You have to manage for that. So the whole point of this is the internet is a different animal. And the more we treat it as a different animal, the more you're going to benefit from it. So instead of saying start as a startup, you ought to say that I'm running a completely different business. I'm doing something completely different. Start thinking about it as starting a new business altogether. That's all that you're doing at all times and the way that you're thinking about it, not that you're trying an extension of your business. So what would you do when you start a new business, you may ask? Well, just like you started your first business or the business that you run or work in right now. You study the marketplace, you study the industry, you figure out, oh, that's interesting. The internet has this and that and this and that. You hire the right people, not delegate to convenient people. This happens all the time. I advise many large conglomerates on internet strategy. And this is the biggest downfall of most of their strategies. And you can see, you've seen this when you go online. Large retail outlets are the worst internet companies. And the reason is that most of them have people, oh, this gentleman has run my store so successfully in the past. The sales numbers are great in this jeans department. Go run the internet. Okay. And they don't say no because they don't know how to say no because they've been taught just to say yes. And now they go and they have no idea because it's a different place. Are you hiring people who understand? Because you do hire the right people in your day job. You find because you know who to look for. And that means the research comes in first because otherwise you wouldn't know who to find, right? Keep an eye on the finances. The biggest problem that you have versus a startup has is a startup has no money. So they don't have to keep an eye on the finances. They find the metrics first. So they don't spend money finding metrics to measure their business success. They raise money based on the metrics of business success. But when you have money, you automatically spend money to find those metrics, and that's exactly why companies fail, because you're spending too much money to begin with. Test your ideas constantly. Again, this is just basic stuff. I'm just teaching you what you already know about life. You're always testing. You have to be hypercritical. You have to be focused. I said focus. I could have left that one out. I say that because in my example right now where I said companies say, oh, you should go run the internet, they also say you should run the internet and report to me. which is great because I have so much time on my hands because my regular business doesn't need my attention because it's just an autopilot because that's how businesses are. Once you've started them, they'll just run and you don't have to pay attention to them, right? No. Let's have a show of hands. Am I right? No. Oh, hey, perfect. Awesome. No. It's very difficult to run a business. We all know this. It's really tough to run one business. Can you imagine what it must be to run two businesses? Because this is how I figure it. Let's take an example. I don't know. Deep Kalra. You know, he's sitting in his office. He runs MakeMyTrip.com. He's sitting in his office. He goes, well, ticketing business, it's well. Now I have all this time on my hands. Maybe I should start an airline. And I'll do that business because I have so much time because what else do I have to do? The tickets are there. The airlines are coming. People are buying the tickets. And I'm public now. I've got tons of money. And what's going on? No, it's a horrible business. Tickets are commoditized right now. People want experiences. People are going elsewhere. There's international competition coming in. There's domestic competition rising. He's screwed. His market cap's fallen by 50%. This is a 24/7 job. These guys are sitting there and all they're doing is thinking about how to improve their business. Larry and Sergey are the most busy guys on the street, right? Steve Jobs didn't sleep. How is it possible to compete when you're only looking at it 25% of the time? 9 times out of 10, my advice has always been hire someone to found your internet strategy, not to run it, to found it. Hire someone, bring someone on board as a partner because it's that difficult to do. And when you do that, you give an opportunity for someone to bring success where you might not have had it because of time, because of understanding, because of opportunity, or any number of things that you had with your primary focus that you would not have necessarily if this wasn't your primary focus. I hope that makes sense. That's all I had. So thank you very much. I will take questions. Thank you. This always happens. There's never any questions because I'm so articulate and clear when I'm giving my talk. Always happens. Okay, thank you. Oh, yes. Oh, wow. I pay you a lot of money for this.
Hope you do. Okay, now, see, you scared us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, coming out of that scare, isn't there any competencies which a brick-mortar guy can avail when he's going online?
Oh my God, there's trend. So the point of my talk was more to be on the other side. But of course, oh my God, tremendous. It's funny that you say that. I look at, I don't know, 40 to 50 startups a week, business plans a week. I meet 10, 12 of them. So I'm meeting like 500 startups a year, really. And I find that you get so drained sometimes because what they're doing is they're making a chart. And they're saying on one side, oh, there's a marketplace, there's e-commerce, there's social, and then on this side, there's pets, there's kids, there's dogs, this is done, okay, no, this is done. And they come, they have no exposure in the industry, they have no idea what logistics means, they have no idea, and they want to start this company. And you're like, "Urgh." And you just don't know what to say to them. There's such a large advantage when you already know the core industry that you want to be able to provide online. It's just that you have to understand the online part of it as well. But you bring such a tremendous opportunity because of the understanding that you already have, the infrastructure that you already have to operate that industry, and the know-how and the expertise that takes. So if I'm making garments offline, why can't I sell garments online? Well, you can, but you have to understand the model for the online aspect, but you have the garments. Much better than me wanting to start garments selling online. I don't have the garments to begin with. I don't have the infra to begin with. So you bring a tremendous opportunity. The way I would have to understand how garments are made, you would have to understand how the internet works. The difference is, I know I don't understand how garments are made. Many people who come online don't realize how much they need to understand how the internet works. So, and that's the core difference of what I was trying to get at. As long as you go down that road, you're fine.
Great, thanks.
Yes?
When do you think it's the right time for a startup to go to an angel investor first? And second, what is that angel investor looks at when he's trying to invest in a company? Because you look at so many
What was the second part? I'm sorry.
Pardon?
What was the second part of your question?
What does the angel investor look at when he's trying to invest in the company?
That was the first part. What was the second part? You only had you had two questions, right?
Yeah. First part is, when is the right time for a startup
right
to
time.
go?
Okay. When is the right time for a startup? Right now. No, I'm just kidding. We put money in, let's see. Oh, I'll give you an example. Sandeep Agarwal was up here. I put money. I'm an angel investor in shopclues.com. We put money in his company. He had a product online that hadn't launched yet, and he had a business plan. They were planning on moving to India, him and his team. They were living in the U.S. I've put money right now. On my group has put money. I'm three friends of mine and me that we put money together in an online test prep company where there's a 30-year-old young lady, and she had a business plan, and barely a business plan. We just loved her thinking and how she thought about it. So when should you go? You should go whenever there's no real right stage to go. Ideally, most angels will tell you, don't come to raise money to build a product. Have the product and use the money to test and improve that product. I think that for us in India, we're too young to say that right now. Remember, our gurus are only 4 years old, right? So I don't even know what a guru, who are these people? I'm standing up here. It's not like I've had 25 years of experience in the online space, and so let me tell you my experience. No. Well, I'm learning as much as you're learning. It's just that I meet more companies, and so I get more exposure. I'm doing this on a day-to-day basis, and you might not be doing it on a day-to-day basis, so I'm trying to learn more, and I'm actively trying to learn where you might not be. And that's the only reason I'm sharing experiences of not too long ago. So is there a right time? No, there's not a right time. But you do need to have certain core elements of thought that are crisp enough. And if you want better money, and by better money, I mean better people investing in your company, which is a better question. Who do I want to invest in my company? Quite honestly, that's the better question. Then you need to be able to be articulate, and your train of thought has to be good. And if you can have something that can be visual, that can give visual impact, it strengthens your opportunity to go to the angel. Your second question was, angel what?
What does the angel investor look at when he's trying to invest in the company?
Okay, that's a good question. What do I look at? Let me answer that. Not as a group as a whole. I look at the founder. The founder is really important. I gotta be excited by this person. This guy has got to know things I didn't think of. They've got to be really passionate, and they've really got to they've had to really go down and dirty in what they want to do and know details coming to me that they don't know. They also have to know what they don't know. What kind of people do they need to hire? That'll help them. What kind of products do they need to look at that they don't know about? So where are they going to pitfall? What are the most important levers? So the founder is very important. Industry is very important. If I'm going after a $100 million industry, in India, if I'm going after a $1 billion or $2 billion industry, it's probably not going to be worth it for me. I'm looking for big bang ideas. $1 billion, you're going to make a small portion of that. You're not making enough money. You're just not. I have an investment in Bombay. She's a young lady. She's about 20. So I invest in a lot of young ladies, right? 26, 27 years old. That was a joke, by the way. People in the back going, what the hell is wrong with this guy? She's a blogger. I'll tell you, I'm not hiding a name. It's missmalini.com. I don't know if there are any young ladies in the audience, they would know who she is. She started off about 8 months ago with 40,000 unique visitors. We gave her a small amount of money, tiny amount of money. In 6 months, she now has 750,000 unique visitors a month. She has 4 employees and works out of a 280 square foot apartment. 650, 700,000, they're all women between the age of 16 and 45. This is her population. So, you're looking at ideas that are huge. And that's what I would look at people that are passionate, and these are really broad terms. I look at a lot more than this, but that'd begin with. I'd look at industries that you can conquer. That if Malini wants to conquer, she could become the Martha Stewart of India. She could become the Oprah Winfrey of India. That's how I think. She could become the Kim Kardashian of India. And all of a sudden, she could sell Malini products because young girls are going to be like, oh my God, Malini is promoting this. Why don't I buy that? And if Malini is not promoting it, why should I buy it? It's not cool. Like that. So blog is a very small thing. The potential for Malini is huge. So that's what I look at. That's what I look for.
Thank you.
Yes. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Pawan, I'm looking to start up. At the very beginning, you mentioned that when you opened a startup, you vied for a venture capitalist and you ended up working for them instead of working for your company. Means, what are the things as a startup, you need to keep in mind when you get the ventures? Means, I don't get bogged down by the ventures. What are the things I need to take care of?
No, I'm sorry. I don't think I understood your question fully.
At the beginning, when you started, you said that when you started a business, you ended up selling it to a venture.
No, to a conglomerate. I sold my company to NIIT. Yeah, not to a venture capital fund.
So, what are the things you need to keep in mind before you venture? Means you look out for venture capitalists of your firms, so that you are not at the end you are not ended up working for them instead of working for your company. Am I clear?
Okay, yeah, I think so. What you're saying is basically you're asking how you manage the investors.
Right.
How do you manage your investors?
Yes.
That's a good question. I think a lot of people feel that raising money is one way. So as long as someone's ready to give you money, you should take it. Actually, raising money is like getting married. You're interviewing the person giving you money as much as they are interviewing you. Unfortunately, you're so nervous when you're trying to raise money that you forget to interview the venture capitalist. It happens to men all the time, right? Because when you're meeting your wife, when you're in an arranged marriage, she's just like, what do you do? And you're like, and that's the same way. It's the same relationship. The venture capitalist is like, oh, toot, and you're like, oh my God, just give me the money, God damn it, I don't know. But you have to be talking to them as well. You have to understand their mentality. And when you finally get the money, you have to be able to talk back to them. You remember, this is not their money. Venture capitalists are giving you other people's money. They've raised this money, like you're raising money from them. They've raised money from other people. Angels are even worse. They have limited capacity for money. So they're giving you their own money, and they're expecting results from you. And failure is not one of those results. You have to be able to manage their expectations and yet manage your company. And so you have to be able to talk back. Look, entrepreneurship is all about being able to stand up. You're standing up to your consumer because you're telling them, listen, you can't do it this way, you have to do it the way I'm telling you to do it. You're standing up to your investor, you're saying, look, I understand, but it's my decision. You've given me money, but you've given me money. See the difference? So you have to explain to them, I understand. They're advisors. I'm an advisor. I've given personal money of mine, but I can't tell the entrepreneur, no, you must do it that way. If I think I must do it that way, I should start my own company and do it that way. I'm putting money in you because I trust you. I believe in your vision, not my vision, your vision. And you have to know that. And you have to be able to manage that relationship. It's a very good question. This is the number one problem people face. The number two problem is raising money all the time. Half the problem when you raise money the first time is all you find out that you're doing in life when you're an entrepreneur is just raising money, raising money, raising money, raising money, raising money. And that means you have to deal with one investor, two investors, three investors, four investors. And the only way you can do that well is to lay the groundwork very early on. Don't fear them. As much as you read about liquidity shortages and money, let me tell you, I'm here. There is more money in this country than we know what to do with. People just want to give. They're throwing money away. But because of that, there are lots of bad, stupid ideas. And those are the ideas that are not getting funded. Those are the ventures that are not happening. If you have a good idea and you're a good entrepreneur, and I'm using good very vaguely, you will get money. You will raise money. In fact, they'll be knocking down your door because there are not enough of you out there, especially in India. And I'm inside. I know every single venture capitalist that is to know here. I know every money manager and almost every angel that's worth his weight in salt. And I can tell you that there's plenty of money. Unfortunately, there's an overabundance of money. And that leads to problems because the biggest problem is getting someone who doesn't understand your business or who cannot strategically help you to give you money. Because you don't know enough about being an entrepreneur in this business to be able to take advice from someone who also doesn't know enough. You know what I mean? Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
How do we reach you?
Sorry?
How do we reach you now?
I'm sorry?
How do I reach you now?
How do you reach me?
Yeah.
At Siddharth Talwar on Twitter. I don't respond to email. I'm not a big email person. I think that it's a wasted medium. If they can figure out how to fix email, like they have to fix voicemail, it'll be much easier. Social networking is much easier. Instagram, send me a photograph of yourself. If I like it, I'll call you back.
I'm already following you on Twitter.
What?
I'm already following you on Twitter.
Awesome. Awesome. Any other questions? Okay, good luck. Thank you very much. Thank you.